around and stuff. But so basically, there was this one time where I was trying to walk to the school by myself, right? And I was walking, right? And I actually, right, when I say this, right, I actually didn't know where I was going. Like the first time I walked by myself to this school after moving houses, because the house we were in was terrible. But after we moved houses and that, I was trying to walk by myself, and I was like, oh, I kind of got lost, right? So I actually got lost, right? I got lost, and basically I was walking somewhere I didn't know I was going, and so I didn't really know where I was going, and that led to like how I actually had to walk with this random person.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the James Rambling Show, coming at you live on Friday night. Tonight's your host, James May.
Straight into this episode. Hello, welcome back to the James Rambling Show. Tonight we have a very special show for you tonight. Well, maybe not actually. No, screw that, right? It's not that special. You're just seeing somebody talk for 20 minutes or whatever the case may be, depending on the day, depending on the week, depending on the weekend, blah blah blah. So, no, there is not a guest tonight. So, I've kind of lied on this show because, it's usually a guest a month. Every month with this guest on, whatever. I've not had a guest on, I think, since the back of August. That really doesn't matter now, but so this week we're gonna talk about high schooly stuff. So I did talk about that school the first school I went to in New Zealand, and that kind of thing kind of wasn't my favourite school, as you could tell from the way I was talking about it. This is actually the only other school I've been to in New Zealand, is what we'll be discussing in tonight's episode. So I am just gonna try to get into this. In these episodes I usually do actually kind of mess around because, I'm sitting here for 20 minutes or whatever it may be, just talking to you, and I'm just gonna go and blah 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 and rabble blabble blabber about. So the Fraser High School, right, was the first school, or the school I'm at right now. This was the school that I actually came out, like, wanted to go to because, that last school, didn't like it. Walking distance was terrible. It was a hood rat shit show, as I mentioned. So there was a lot of factors where I was like, yeah, nah, I'm not even gonna try though at this school anymore. I'm just gonna pack my bags and leave. And when I left, right, I actually went to this school and I was like, oh my gosh, man. Yes, I should have probably been to this school earlier. Doesn't matter now. I'm at this school, and that's the main thing, kind of thing. So Fraser High School it actually has about a thousand students, I think, or 1,000, over 1,000 students anyway. You have that, right, and you have a principal. There's actually a thing in New Zealand, right? They have these principals, as in like the minute, what do you call that? Like the person who runs the school, basically. It's kind of like an American thing. Like they took that from America, right? So like you have that, you have the principal, and then you have the students, and then you have the teachers, and same old, right? And the uniforms like blue, and they actually praise the Maori culture as well. So like, and they praise the Maori culture. There's a kabahaka. I never actually went into kabahakas. Apparently, in this school, right, you can't actually go to kabaka. Like, you have to be there in year 10 or like year 9 or something. I was never there in year 9, so could never do it. And plus, I kind of just forgot about the kabaka stuff. Wasn't really getting into it. But this school definitely does celebrate that kind of thing. It does do that, but also has Angatasi, which is actually this whole thing where it celebrates like Pacifica people, so it's like the islanders and that kind of thing. So this school is actually has a lot more to it than that other school, right? It's got a bit more room in there. You know, this isn't just some random, like, there's not 100 people, right? It is actually like a giant school with a lot of teachers, right? But it isn't actually that bad. It's not a bad school. Yeah, there's the odd crazy idiots and the troublemakers, and there's still a bit of those. There's still a bit of those like hood ratty kind of people, but it doesn't overshadow the entire school. If that makes sense. So from that perspective, makes the school a lot better indeed. But like that's kind of like the introduction and try to bring this whole school into context kind of thing. So I actually started this school in 2020 during the pandemic, which wasn't ideal, but the thing was I actually spent like I was able to get to this school before the pandemic even started. So I started in February or whatever, and I think the New Zealand actually was in lockdown late February, so I still had some time to actually sort of get into the school and understand what's going on here, that type of thing. And the walk was actually good, right? I used to walk, like my sister used to walk with me because my sister actually used to go to Fraser with me. Like she used to go to this school with me, right? And that kind of thing unfolded. And then after a while, she kind of left because it was her last year. She was a year 13 and I was on like a year 10. So obviously she had to leave after a while. And actually, right, I have this interesting story, right? So I walked with my sister to the school, right, and that the way you walk, the way you walk to school, and you should know where to walk, where you should go, how you should go back to and from, right? This was actually after we moved houses, right? After we moved houses, because this was the year I actually moved houses as well, like 2020. 2020 was an interesting year, definitely, but yeah, like after that, right? After after I moved houses and that stuff, right? The walk's definitely better. After that, right? There was this story. I have this story to tell, right? And I know I just say, oh my gosh, kind of repetitive for how many stories I can tell, but with these kind of things, it's actually easy to tell stories because there's so much you can take away from these kind of things. So to actually get to the point this time, because obviously I messed around and stuff, but so basically there was this one time where I was trying to walk to the school by myself, right? And I was walking, right? And I actually, right, when I say this, right, I actually didn't know where I was going. Like the first time I walked by myself to this school after moving houses, because the house we were in was terrible. But after we moved houses and that, I was trying to walk by myself, and I was like, oh, I kind of got lost, right? So I actually got lost, right? I got lost, and basically I was walking somewhere I didn't know I was going, and so I didn't really know where I was going, and that led to like how I actually had to walk with this random person to get to my school. And then I was like, oh, when I got to the school, right, and I told the person who was teaching the class or whatever, I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't actually know where I was going, so I got lost, and that's why I'm late and that kind of thing. So there's that, right? There's a bit of a deep dive there, but definitely that there. So the class that we actually go to in this school, right, is actually group. Like group was a thing. It's basically this thing where it's like a leisure time, and you have like all the students, and there's like this tutor, and then they mark the roll is what they call it, like to make sure who's here and that kind of thing. So Fraser definitely has that. You have the group time, and then you have the hub time, which was actually bigger in year 9 and 10. Like hub was a completely different thing. Hub was never a thing after that point. Like I did hub in my last school, but that was just kind of like it was a mixture of all these other subjects you would go on to learn. Like actually, it was like social science and like a bit of English, but I actually had a separate maths class though. That kind of thing unfolded. you know, because I still had separate subjects to group itself. So there's that. Geez, a lot to take in, I know. So that kind of thing. The group teacher that I had was Mr. Pan, right? Mr. Pan was the teacher that I actually had, which is kind of a weird name, but the guy is from China and that stuff. Learned about that kind of thing. But he was nice. Then you had Miss Bull, and then I think her name was Mrs. Hendrickson. They were the hub teachers. And then I had my friends in the hub class, that kind of thing. So there definitely is that. The maths class I actually went to at Fraser was, the teacher I had was Mrs. The coincidence is, right, that I actually had this math teacher called Mrs. Fraser, right? Mrs. Fraser. She's named after the school, which was crazy. But the thing was, right, with maths, you know, I was never, like I said in probably a previous episode, I've never been good at maths. Like, maths has never been my subject. Maths is the last thing on the menu when it comes to what I'm good at, kind of thing. And if you're wondering why I'm doing all these hand signals, you know, I'm just trying to be a bit more interesting, you know, do a bit of hand signals. But yeah, so we did the maths, right? We did all of that, like trigonometry, trigonometry. There was a lot of things that we did in that class. So there was that, and I actually also did enterprise studies, which looked at, you know, market day, all that stuff. So that was it for that. I did enterprise studies. So it was a long time ago. It was actually a long time ago that I did year 10. So I guess that's it for year 10, but definitely this Fraser school has been decent. It's been an alright school. You know, Fraser isn't a bad school. It's much better than the school I used to go to. There's actually better people, I guess, you know, because I know there's still those people that are terrible and, you know, do the gang stuff, but it isn't as influential because of how there's so many students. If I mentioned that before, I'm sorry, but just wanted to kind of, you know, re-establish that point. But so there's year 11 and there's year 12, right? You know, I could have went into year 13, but I have never even started year 13. So, and yeah, I would tell you some things about, like, the students and all of that, but it'll just get boring if I talk about the friends I made and that stuff, you know what I mean? Because it is just generic stuff, like, you just have friends, you know. Which I did have some strange friends, but I'll get to that later if I can. So, that was kind of like year 10, I just really kind of I was kind of a weirdo in that because like I had this actually, you know what, dudes, we'll go into year 11 and 12 later on in the show, right? Man, this episode's gonna be longer, but who cares, right? This is the James Rambling Show. You came here for me to ramble on about whatever the case may be. So basically, I had this friend group who were actually quite weird, right? They weren't necessarily bad people, but they were very interesting, right? They would actually do these weird things, and they just did all these weird stuff, that kind of thing. And like the friends were like Tyler, Navneesh, who's on the show. You had Shahil, you had Ashton, all these other people, right? I met them. I was like, they did all these weird things with these. I don't know, man. It's just like there's one. Ashton was like one of the weirdest friends I had. Right, you know, horrible person. He's just one of those people who are very strange, but it's like pardon me, it's like in a good way kind of thing. It's not like they intentionally mean to be that way. There's like, oh yeah, let's have a bit of fun kind of thing. Because I have had friends that are weird, but weird for a good reason. But that friend group, right, were actually right. I grew. I was into we were friends because we were actually at this point in time. This is when I was like really into anime, so I got into people. I was friends with people who were like really into anime as well, so that kind of made that connection. but we also kind of liked memes was the thing we kind of were really sort of into, and sort of that kind of thing. Just I just had these friends, and mind you, I was 15 years old or something at this time. So like, you're obviously gonna be have a bit of a bit of an immature, bit silly stuff like that. But I guess that's kind of it for year 10. Sorry if I rambled, but this is the James Ramblin Show, ladies and gentlemen. So we got to live up to the hype, don't we? So the you have year 11, you have year 12, and there's year 13. But because I actually said, I've not done year 13 yet. Why am I gonna bring it up? So year 11 was actually last year for me, and this is basically the start of NCA, which is basically this like education system with grades, getting credits and that stuff, right? Where you have to get you have to basically do all these assessments to pass a year, kind of thing. In that year you had to get 80 credits, and then 20, and then 10 had to be from literacy and numeracy, which could be like maths credits or whatever, right? I know I may be boring myself out because I'm actually on holiday, but since I'm doing the school stuff, stuff like that, but yeah, man, you had to do all that stuff, right? 80 credits to get to where you want to be. If you don't pass the year, you have to do it again, sort of thing. And year 11, right, was actually when I met Tom Duncans, right? This was the year when I actually met the man himself. We were in the same maths class, and we were doing NCA, and he didn't even know I was from Scotland and this kind of thing. So this was like early into the year where we actually were in the same maths class, and he actually didn't know who I was, and that kind of thing happened. And then you had that, right? You had my maths class, right? But the thing was with NCA level 1 was the thing with MCA level 1 and MCA level 2, MCA level 3. So I had that. So I had English. I had maths, English, business studies. What else was there? Science. Shit, I can't. It's hard to remember, man. It was like, oh, it was so long ago. But I had all of those subjects, right? And I actually wasn't. I was like actually I was getting really into the school stuff. Right? I was just trying to get the credits as much as I could. Try to get the credits so dang much because that was the point, and I just was just like, yes, I need to get the credits. I need to get the credits. Like I was just really trying to get to the point. You know what I'm saying? And but like the thing is with this, right? I actually said, "Oh, I'm gonna get excellence. I'm gonna get excellence. I'm gonna get excellence," and I said this for the longest time. And what's happened? I've never got a fucking excellence in my life, right? Basically, so the grades that we get, right? It's like achieved, merit, and excellence. And achieved is just like basic level. Merit is when you do a bit more in depth, and then excellence is like really persuasive stuff like that. So I didn't actually know. Well, I probably knew I could do it. Like if I tried hard enough, right, I would actually get it. But I always get. I got merits and stuff. Oh wait, I just forgot that I took history as well, right? But yeah, I got merits, and I got I didn't always get merits, but I got it occasionally. But achieved, I was just trying to pass things more than just trying to get a higher grade. So I just wanted to try and pass things more than getting a higher grade, which kind of stops me from getting excellences so much because I never tried as well as I thought I would. And like that whole thing happened, right? And then there was that. I'm just trying to remember because it was a long time ago. So there was that. So we learned, just did that, trying to, because I was just getting achieved all the time. I was getting achieved. So many achieved credits. Got about 84 that year. I was so happy. I did the exams as well, which we had to do. That was a big thing as well. Exams, right? I think I failed one of my exams, but I didn't fail anything. there is a not achieved as well. When you fail on a thing, you can either redo it or like fix it up a bit to get an achieved, or you can completely do the entire thing again to get a merit or an excellence. But year 11, right? There was also another lockdown that happened. Because we had to do like these online Zoom, like FaceTime, whatever you call it, Google Meet things there as well, like catching up with the teachers and doing all these tasks online. That happened in year 10 as well. I think that happened in 11. That kind of thing, that stuff. So year 11. So now, yeah, right. I know. And in year 11, I met Phoenix and all that as well. But if I talk about the subjects so much, you're gonna get bored, right? You're gonna absolutely get bored. So let's hammer this point home. Don't want to make this way too long than it already should be. Year 12, right? So year 12 is where you actually only need to get 60 credits, I think. And basically, I'm still in the moment of this year right now, but year 12 has been decent, I guess. Well, it's been okay. Actually, I should just take a back seat there a little bit, okay? It's been okay. Like, I'm not saying I'm doing shitly, right? I'm doing worse than I did before, but we had this like term one. Right, term one was like the start of the year, whatever. It was the hardest part because there was like you had to stay in, and it kind of repeated that whole thing where we had to go in these online classes, and it was annoying, and that and this and that and that. And the subjects I took in year year 12 was oh yeah, well not was English, maths, accounting, chemistry, and classics. So those were the five. These are the five subjects I chose for this year. Where I don't know if I mentioned this, but I think my favourite subject is definitely classics, right? This because there's a cool thing in the subject. We can actually compare this hero from like the classical age to the modern age, which is freaking awesome, right? English, you do the essays, you blah 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 blah, blah do the reading responses, do all that stuff. Don't want to bore you out. Maths, just it's like it isn't calculus because like one of my friends does calculus and that freaking stuff seems to be hard apparently. So there's that. Accounting is just like financial stuff, so it's like business. Like I kind of just I didn't even want to do business studies, Like I wanted to see if it was like similar. It is similar, but it's more mathematical and that kind of thing. And English, maths, accounting, chemistry, just like chemistry is alright. The teacher's funny, like the teacher is Mr. Tinney or whatever, hilarious guy and stuff like that. The subject itself is alright, but I'm definitely not going to take it again because it's really not something I want to portray or pursue in the future. Then classics, an amazing subject and that kind of thing. So that's the subjects I did in year 12. But I have actually gotten a bit bored in school. I find school a bit boring now, right? I'm not saying I hate school, but it's just like it's kind of getting a bit repetitive and it's getting a bit sort of the same old stuff kind of thing. So every time I go to school I'm just like another average day kind of thing. And actually in year 12 I actually did the work experience to get these 22 credits, right? Get a job, you do this job, right? Stack these shelves, the easiest thing you'll ever do, right? The easiest thing I could have ever done, actually. And I was actually one of the best people at the job, apparently. And I was going to get the job, and I still will try and get this job at Countdown. It's like a supermarket, basically. And then you just put things on the shelves, blah, 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 blah. That stuff, right? Easy peasy lemon squeezy. But I don't really know what else to say here. I mean, this is just a repetitive cycle, and so if I go on any further, your brains are gonna get bored definitely. So, this isn't. I might have just to end the episode here before it gets even longer than it already is. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, right? I mean, there is. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. I could tell you about there was this. I know this episode was going to end, but I actually want to talk about how I went to this museum, right, with my classics class. A really good trip, right? It was actually a very interesting thing. Like, these things at a museum. We saw so many things at a museum and that kind of stuff, and we saw that, and it was with a girl, and we would take with my friends and that stuff. So yeah, alright, I'm gonna end the episode because this episode is probably gonna be way too long, right? Oh man, I just rambled too much. But that is it for this episode. See you next week. Hope I didn't bore you too much, and goodbye.